You're listening to the What's Happening podcast with Gary Watts.
Good morning. I'm here with Sean McCarty, a golf legend in the state of Iowa, a golf professional, and one of the best golfers in the state, if not the best golfer in the state. Sean, good morning. How are you?
Good. Good to be here.
Good to see you. Let's talk golf. And before we get really rolling into it, tell me how you got started. Go back to West Branch. I don't know if people know this, but you're from West Branch.
Yep.
We also got to throw in you played football for Butch Peterson, didn't you, in Lurch?
So. Yep, absolutely.
Were you a tailback, by the way?
I was,
You were, okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to West Branch, and I think your father on the golf course, but I'll let you take it from there on how you got interested in golf, how much you played, and just kind of give us a little tip on how you got started.
You bet. Yeah, so basically in 1975, which I'd have been 3 years old, my parents had the opportunity to buy the West Branch golf course.
Right.
So they did. Basically, I got a set of golf clubs when I was 3 years old, and that was the story, basically. You know, I was obsessed, and I started playing tournaments when I was, I guess, 5, 6 years old, my first ones. But just great parents, you know. My brother was a year younger, and he played golf, and we were both good golfers. We ended up having a great team there at West Branch. We won state. I was there 3 years. We won state 3 years, and then my brother won a year after us. So they went 4 years undefeated, never lost a single duel,
Really?
anything. So,
Wow.
Yeah. So, obviously we kind of had a great time there. And
Was your dad the teacher?
No, well, they were both good players. Mom and Dad both were. Chad and I just kind of grew up playing. Really never had any instruction.
Really?
Dave Rummels was 15 years older than I was. So he was around. He was just starting to turn, I think, 22-ish. He tried to do a tour, made it. So he was around. He kind of helped, here and there with us. And, I played crosshand until I was 7 years old,
Really?
Yeah. So finally Dave said, you can't do that. So I switched one day and that was it. So, so Dave would have probably been our biggest influencer, probably on Chad and I. And, like I say, mom and dad could almost shoot par, so we probably inherited our ability, I guess. So,
Right. So Dave, if you don't know Dave Rummels, wasn't he on the tour for like 10 years or so, 15?
Oh, yeah, probably. Yeah.
It was like class of 74 or something, wasn't he?
Yes.
They won the state.
They won
West Branch.
state, yep. So it was kind of fun last year. We had Dave was inducted to the Cedar County Hall of Fame. And so his class, our class, and then the class last year won state for West Branch. So we had a big golf reunion, and, we took on the young bucks, and our class kind of snuck it out of there, but
Did you really?
Oh, yeah,
That's good.
yeah,
The old guys
yeah,
did it.
Yeah. So,
Was Quinny on that team too?
Yep,
Rummels?
yep. Quinny,
That's funny.
So
That's great. Well, so now you're in high school. You guys won state, and then you went on to Iowa. So tell us about some of the tournaments, or just what your experience was at University of Iowa.
Yeah, it was kind of. I kind of thought I'd never wanted to stay in the northern, part of the country to play golf, and best thing I ever did. I always kind of need a little mental break. I don't know if I could do golf quite year round, but so it was a good mental break for the winter time around here. And we had a great golf team. We won Big Tens my freshman year, which had been 92, which I think is still the only time that Iowa's won the Big Ten championship. So we qualified. We had a pretty good 4-year spout. We made it to NCAAs qualified for the NCAAs my senior year, which I think was maybe the first time that Iowa's done that as well. So we had good teams. Kind of Lynn Blevins came in there after Chuck Zwiner had been there for 20, 30 years.
Right.
So kind of got the program kind of changed around and so forth. So we had good teams.
What were some of the good courses you played?
Oh man, we played them. We played some dandies, like down in Kentucky to Ohio was always known, the Scarlet course over the university for a public course. That thing's a beast. So it always seemed like it'd been raining, so it was really, really long. We had NCAAs over there actually my senior year. So
is that a Nicholas course?
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm sure.
It's all a guy wants, I can tell you that. So
the Golden Bear put his stamp on it, didn't he?
Yeah. So I played a lot of his courses over the years too.
Yeah,
so they're
definitely
nice.
So if you're talking, I know you work with the Solon, your sons are at Solon. Tell us a little bit about, our golf pro and a teaching pro. Tell us about somebody that's younger, that's just getting started, or parents are thinking about working with their kids. At what age? What do you look for? Can you go through a little bit about the psychology of what how a teaching pro works and what you need to be doing if you're going to learn to play the game of golf? Because a lot of people are intimidated by golf. They go out and try to hit it, and it goes all over, and eye-hand coordination. They just never really got into, it's frustrating to them.
Yeah.
So how do you, what are some things that you can help and teach when you're young?
Yeah. So here's what I tell everybody. The younger you can start this game, the better. No doubt. I mean, as we get older, as you know, this game, it is tough. It's frustrating. I've been playing for 47 years now. I still don't have it figured out myself. So it's a very humbling game. I think it's the hardest sport there is. But I've told every parent, the sooner you can start a kid in golf, the better. I think less bad habits get created. Obviously the golf swing has changed over, I would say, since I was playing as a junior golfer. A lot of the basic mechanics, maybe concepts have changed from the days when you and I maybe were playing golf, but technology is a big thing of it as well. Since back in the day, we didn't have metal woods and we started with persimmon woods, but just basically what I tell them is, get these kids started as young as you can. And both of my boys, they tried to play cross-handed. We got them switched. Both my brother's boys are right-handed, but golf left-handed. And we tried changing them. It's tough sometimes. But
Phil Mickelson.
Yeah, Phil Mickelson, exactly. Yep. It's weird, but I got mine to switch, and, they both love golf. Both of Chad's boys love golf, and currently, his oldest playing at UNI, and then the one that's a senior in high school at Clear Creek's going up to UNI as well. So he'll have both up there. So
great.
Yeah.
So you start them when they're young. And I noticed one thing. I think when I look at people on a driving range, it's first thing club they pull out's the one wood. They want that big club. And they want to smack it out there. So would you advise younger kids to kind of get the wedge or the 9-iron and work that first? Just talk about the club selection a little bit.
Exactly. Kind of going back to that as well. Like, I played enough tour events, and I always tell everybody, and I know it's the most boring part, is chipping, putting, short game.
Right.
They spend most of their time doing that, and it can make up for a lot of bad shots, basically. But, yeah, if I'm, like you're saying, and I see it all the time because I'm looking out on the driving range from Brown Deer there, but everybody just grabs driver right out of the gate, which, number one, as we get older, you shouldn't do that because of flexibility. You can hurt something as well, just kind of gradually. But to me, and if you watch every tour player, they basically start with sand wedge, maybe do mine's a 9-iron, then I go to 6-iron, and then rotate hybrid 3-wood on up, and then always finish with the wedge. But as far as I've seen, almost every tour player does that same sort of
progression.
Yeah. Yep. Different clubs, and some hit more with certain clubs. But I only hit 3 or 4 drivers ever. I don't know. I've just always stuck with that. I'm always afraid I might hurt something. So
just pull something and smack it.
So I just kind of get enough to get loosened up. And usually when you're playing a tournament, you're not really trying to find anything per se. You're just kind of trying to loosen up. So, but yeah, if you're just doing normal practice, I always tell everybody, start low, go up.
So talk about at what age do you try to, obviously at 3-year-old, you're just trying to get a swing and a flow. And do you use plastic balls? What do you use? Or do you use real balls?
It's more than little wiffle balls or little foam balls, and usually about 5 years old, the kids can start swinging the regular clubs. And again, golf equipment, since you and I played, there's all tons of little clubs that are made, they're little whippy things, super light, great concept for kids starting 3-4 years old. But 5 years old, they can start carrying the the regular set of little junior sets and more full. Yeah, but about 5-6, we make sure things aren't going. If they're playing cross-handed, we try and switch them. If they got something major going on, we try and start changing about them. But still, you're still letting them kind of swing away, let them have fun. And you'll know about 7-8 years old whether probably they're gonna get the hang of this thing. Yeah, so
you can probably tell who the natural ones are.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And some mechanical thing you're trying to. Because some kids just pick up a club and you just swing. It's like, well, I'm sure Tiger, of course, he's a prodigy.
Yeah.
And he was probably around 3. I think he was on Johnny Carson.
Correct.
Where he was out there and he's swinging, and Carson's looking at him, and then going, who is this kid? And then it's an interesting story. I don't know how it was with your folks or how you were taught, but I know Tiger's dad, I think, was Special Forces or military background. And it was really hard on him from a standpoint, have an air horn in his backswing or drop a book or make noises. And really, he practiced a lot. Tell us about, if you're going to be good, I mean,
You
you just
tune
don't
that
show
stuff
up.
up. Yep.
Yeah. What are some things that you can be doing as you're, like 7 or 8, as you think you're going to be a golfer?
Yep.
And then we can get into pressure later, which I'm sure being in the things you've been. How do you handle that? But let's start with what do kids need to be doing?
Like say most teachers, like say when you start getting in, especially tournament play, you gotta, and it's tough when these kids are that young. Their focus maybe is not always there.
Right.
The attention. But basically, like the ones that we start getting up that 10, 12 years old, we'll swing a flag in the back behind them, so it makes a loud swoosh sound, kind of scare the crap out of them basically, and see how they react to it. And I kind of learned that playing at Iowa. Our coach would do that to us, and trying to really distract you. But you learn to kind of, I mean, if you're in it, you're into it. It's kind of, you hear it but you don't. So but yes, as you know, golf's probably 95% mental as you get older and more into this game. But learning mental toughness, and everybody's totally different. I'm probably not as, I don't know what the word for it is, but nothing bothers me. I'm quick. I play fast. I don't think too long on a shot, because to me, the longer I think, I'm going to get in trouble. My brain starts doing too much. So I go by gut instinct. And again, some people take a lot longer to play than I do. I mean, I'm fast. Again, every kid, every person's different in my mind. So every swing is different. I don't teach a basic swing. There's basic setups that I go by, but as you know, and every swing looks different on tour. So, I mean, I wouldn't teach Jim Furyk's swing, but
right. Yeah.
So
what are your how important is a routine?
As you get into competition, routine is huge. Again, that's part of that mental toughness, where if you're, and I do my same routine. I've basically done this exact same thing since college, if I can remember right. But and that's what I've been trying to work with my 2 boys, and just kind of, you just do your same thing. And I've been watching this season as they've been playing, and they're kind of stuck to their guns. So
good.
It's tough. Jack, our youngest, we kind of made a big swing change with him over the spring break time. Maybe not the best time to do it, but I felt like we needed to get it done for the long haul. And he was playing bad to start the season. I mean, he could have given up, but he hasn't. He's been playing really well the last 2 weeks. And he's stuck with the routine. I've watched him play, and it's just, it can be tough. This game, like I say, I've had the highs and lows as much as anybody. So, but like I say, the routine is a big part of it. So when the pressure comes on, you really don't think about those things.
So the routine could be, you think about where the ball is in your stance. You may take a practice swing or not.
Yep.
But you always do that no matter how fast or slow.
Yeah.
When the more pressure gets on you, do you get slower, or do you try to still stay in that rhythm?
Ideally, you want to stay in the exact same. You don't want to change much.
Otherwise, you might overthink the shot or overplay.
And unfortunately, I'm kind of critical about that, because I've done it myself. You get to these majors, whether it's, I don't practice much to begin with. So like say I was talking to you earlier about is I go down to PGA, I'm practicing more, my body gets wore out.
Right.
I'm not used to it and so forth, but it's just kind of, it's unfortunate. But being a club pro, we don't get to practice every day and play every day. So it is what it is. But yeah, it's definitely the routine is very critical.
So even, you probably see it on the driving range. I know I kind of get into this. Hit a bad shot. Let's get up and hit another shot.
Yep.
Wait a minute. Go back to your routine. Step away from it.
Yep.
Maybe take a practice. And otherwise, you're not really practicing very well.
Correct.
You're just banging balls out. So I think that's another thing where on the
practice how you're going to play. So,
Well, about, I don't know, a couple months ago, you might find this interesting. Nate Kading spoke. At Cedar Rapids Country Club, and he was talking about the mental side of golf. And and I think he's a pretty good stick, but where he got, how he translated from kicking a field goal to hitting that wedge, 120 yards or whatever, over a creek or whatever.
Right.
And I'm sitting there, and he's talking about the pressure on an NFL, and he's one of the best with the San Diego Chargers. I guess they're LA Chargers now.
Right.
But you're looking at down the field, it's a 50-yard field goal, and the goalposts probably look like they're together.
Exactly.
And he's got to step back, and there's 75,000 people in the stadium and maybe 20 million watching.
Right.
But his process was, I think he had a routine.
He did.
And he didn't really care. And I've talked to, believe it or not, I played golf with Adam Vinatieri
Okay.
in Hawaii. He was great.
Yeah.
And we kind of talked the mental side. He said, I do the same thing no matter if it's 10 degrees, 40 degrees, crowd screen. He steps away from the ball. He walks so many steps. I mean, they have a certain thing mentally that they do no matter what's going on.
Yep.
And he said, I could care less about a timeout.
Yep.
I just go back, do my normal thing, get ready to kick again. And I think Nate was the same way.
Yep.
And how they could focus, and they relate that to golf.
Right.
And
I've actually had conversations with Nate about routine, basically, and, you know, and whether it's practice, competition, kind of goals, you know, as well. You know, kind of after he retired, he and I had a lot of talks, kind of trying to help my game. Again, I'm not probably as mental as some, you know, as and I don't know if it's mental, maybe OCD as well. A lot of golf professionals are OCD.
Yeah.
It's, you know, golfers are kind of finicky, I would say, whether it's this and that, you know. And the more I've gotten to play some of these majors, like, you know, hanging with Zach's got me introduced with a lot of the other big names, and just kind of watching how they go about things, and, you know, sitting in the locker room and paying attention a little bit more here in the last, you know, 2018, I got to play in the PGA championship, and then last year as well down in Tulsa. But just kind of watching these guys and hanging out with them, and you kind of see their habits and things that they do as well. Yeah. But again, you watch them on the range. Yeah, it's very similar to what they do on that golf course. Right. They aren't just beating balls trying to hit 100 as fast as they can, like I watch a lot of people on our range, but and kids, you know, in general. So but
that's interesting. You probably have played with a lot of different golfers. So when you're practicing, how do you stay loose? And do you talk to other guys on the course, or, you know, or practicing, or when you're on a round?
Yeah.
Are you having fun? Are you talking about your family? I mean, what happens when you're actually out there with these guys?
Again, everybody's totally different. Some guys won't talk to you. Some guys want to talk to you. I think for me personally, talking kind of gets my mind off golf, and you know, we'll start, whether it's some of my good buddies, whether we're playing tournaments around Iowa, whatever. We'll talk hunting, family, anything, you know. So it's good for me. I seem to play better at times. But like I say, I've with some of the tour players, some talk to you, some don't. You know, Brent Snedeker, I was playing with him down in 2018 and at Belle Reve, and it was funny because he's, you know, you're from Iowa, and so he's just gotten into deer hunting. So all we did was talk about hunting the whole entire round. You know, he couldn't ask me enough questions because he's just getting into it, and he's gotten obsessed with, you know, deer hunting as well. But
bow hunter.
Yep. Yeah. He bought some land down in Kentucky or Tennessee, wherever he's from there, and so I had a great time. It kept me loose the whole entire time. You know, almost made the cut there. We had some unfortunate rain delays, but you know, that was a perfect example. You know, for me personally, it kept me loose a little bit. You know, made me relax because I'm not used to that atmosphere. It's when you got that many people out there, and, you know, I'm always horrified I'm gonna hit somebody. So, you know, but it kept my mind off.
Did you talk about Cameron Haynes too when you got into the bow hunting? So you played. Have you ever played with Tiger?
I have not. I remember when Tiger was just coming on the scene. He was like 12 or 14. Something's been surfing, going through Facebook. You know, he's talking about, you know, I'm not famous yet, but if I ever get on tour. But I think that's when, I think it was one of the big national junior events. But that was the first time I ever learned about Tiger. I'm like, who the heck this Tiger kid? You know, because he had a big following coming out. I was 14. I think he was 12, and you know, I always thought it was pretty good then until he came on the scene. But he, you know, obviously made his debut back kind of that time frame. So won the Big Eye Insurance is what it was, the tournament. But he, like I say, came out on there, and that was the story.
So in your day, you were one of the longest hitters on tour, right?
Correct.
Yeah. What was it? Were you up at 400 yards, or where were you?
I mean, I could, but, you know, I was kind of born with, I guess, you know, had that ability. You know, my brother was a long hitter. You know, it's one thing about golf. It's hard to teach competitiveness and distance is probably one of the things. But right when we came into college, you know, lifting and golf just started to come along. I mean, it had never been brought up, right? And I came into, I'm like, I'm not lifting, you know, this doesn't work, you know. But it helped me a little bit. but I also saw the huge benefits of some of our kids. They hit like 220, 230, and then after one winter of lifting, we're 260, 270, just like that. So I became a big, now everybody does it. All the tour players, they do it even in the tournaments, which is amazing to me. Yeah. I mean, they go lift before they play or after they play or work out. It's impressive.
Like, what is a guy named Rom?
Yeah.
He's amazing. I mean, he's a big hitter, huge guy, strong. I mean,
strong.
Tiger, I can remember when Tiger started to lift.
Yeah.
He's kind of a slender kid, and then all of a sudden,
bulky,
wow. And he runs all the time. I mean, we have a place in Hawaii that we go and they have the Mitsubishi Senior Open. You got to do that one. It's fantastic. Yeah. And it seems like the guys at that age, they have fun with it. Yeah. Freddie Couples is there, and Funk and Hale Irwin.
Correct.
Bernhard Langer's there. Yep. And so I'm kind of down fiddling around the gym doing my thing, whatever. And all those guys were in the gym. Yeah. And it seemed like they all had a trainer. Yeah. They could have been their caddy too, stretching them out, working on certain things. And they weren't lifting heavy, but they're on bikes, stretching out, doing things with their rotator cuff. Yep. I mean, and it isn't just you just go out and hit a bucket of balls. Those guys are into it, their physicality and keeping track of themselves.
Right. Yeah. I mean, especially as we get older, the flexibility is huge. But like say on the tour, they have two basically semis that follow them around the whole time, and they're set up for. They have trainers and they have chiropractors. They have guys that stretch them before they go play. I mean, it's awesome. I go take advantage of the chiropractor service in there, and I don't stretch them because I'm not used to it, so I'd feel like Gumby if I came out of there. But they do offer that up for these guys out there, so it's an awesome thing to. And I'll be in there watching. I mean, some are lifting, like say, some are just doing the bands, just kind of keeping some muscle work going. But it's you do it just everybody does their own thing. But
talk about the technology today. I know there's companies. I know there's a lot of, I know some folks at Golfletics. They do a nice job, and the mechanics. I think you can put a vest on that shows all the, where you're up. Obviously, club head speed's important, but just give us some ideas of the latest technology and how that helps you, because it's getting pretty sophisticated.
It is. You can almost buy a golf game now, I guess is the best way to put it, Like say you're talking about these vests, and I've done it out with TaylorMade. I'm on staff with them, but I did their full suit out there, and it's really kind of fun to watch and see where you are compared to maybe the tour average, positions where the club head is and at impact and so forth and lag and all that. But angle of attack. So they'll do yours. You can pick out certain players to compare where you're at and so forth, But obviously to hit the ball far, you kind of got to have lag. And
tell us what lag is.
It's basically the angle you hold with that right hand, basically to where the club head is. And, some people may be getting here, mine's still way back here behind me kind of a thing. But it's a big part of the distance factor to accelerate that club head through there. But it's but again, everybody's totally different. It's equipment part of it. You can tune these things. So if you're a guy that hooks the ball out, you can change the equipment so it's hard to hook the ball now without changing your golf swing, which is kind of a nice thing. But I've always kind of like to change the golf swing a little bit, so you're not putting like a Band-Aid on a major wound. But a lot of people, recreational golfers don't have that much time to practice, and I get it. So that's kind of what it's for. But
yeah, I mean, I see a lot of guys twisting and turning. They got the golf equipment and a tool, and they're moving stuff around. And I think it does make it nice where you're not, if you're naturally pushing it or you're fading it, or you don't have to change it. You can maybe correct your club a little bit.
Yeah, just change the weights in the clubs. Yeah. It changes the way the club head releases through there. But yeah, it's just amazing how technology's come along since, the first metal wood. I think I was like a sophomore in high school when the first metal wood came out. Yeah. So,
but that made a noise when you
popped
it.
Yes, it did. I mean, couldn't tell.
You could hear it all over the golf course, smack.
Yeah, considering that old persimmon wood.
Yeah, they were pretty special. I remember those wooden clubs.
Yeah.
So with the technologies out there, what's your club head speed when you're rolling down through there?
Unfortunately, it's dropping. Since I'm getting to that 50 age, it's really dropped. But again, all I try and do, every now and then I can still get them out there a little bit if I'm feeling good. And especially the warmer the weather, it's easier on my body. But
150.
My ball speed will be 170, 175.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when was it? 2018, I qualified for the John Deere tournament down there in the Quad Cities. I actually set the club head speed that year for the fastest club head speed on tour, which was like 131.
Wow.
Partly because I was quite upset after the 8th hole. I was going to make the cut, no problem. And I made double on 8, which 9th was my last hole, 18. So all of a sudden I went from making the cut. Now I got birdie last hole. So I was really ticked off and kind of let one fly and set the club head speed that day. But yeah, so, you know, it's depends on the day for me, you know, but again, I'm just trying not to hurt myself. And obviously I found more fairways than I've ever probably hit, you know, not trying to kill it every single time, but you know,
I think a lot of younger people, don't you think they try to kill it and they're trying to hit it farther so they swing harder?
yeah,
And that's not the way to do it, right?
correct. That's where technology's kind of changed the game, I guess. You know, you watch all these kids, they all hit over 300 yards now, you know, they just swing hard. You can adjust the equipment to kind of make up for, you know, kids swings, but I'm kind of still old school where I like to change the golf swing a little bit to kind of correct those problems instead of just changing the club. But almost every kid nowadays they just swing as hard as they can because, you know, they're going to hit it over 300, close enough to the green. They just hit a sand wedge on anyway. So the game is, again, I think it's changed a lot because of the equipment. So,
well, it's funny is if you're an amateur and you think you're doing pretty well and you think you're really, oh, wow, I can play golf. I'll go play a pro course. I remember that I played Cog Hill once.
Yeah.
And I was playing in the back, and I played Spyglass and Pebble Beach.
yeah,
And if you play off the tips,
it's a whole new ball game.
oh, it
right
is.
there. Yeah.
And they just keep making them longer.
I know.
And it's like, are you kidding me? You know,
Right.
475 for a par 4. I
Right.
mean, you know, it's 600 yards or more,
Yep.
par 5s, easy.
Yeah.
So it's definitely getting. Here's something. What's your thoughts on the PGA compared to the new Live Tour?
You know, it's unfortunate. I don't blame them though. I get
Yeah.
it. The money's outrageous.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
300 million
yeah,
up front.
You can't blame them for doing it. I wish they could have come to some agreement, and I think it's kind of hurt the PGA Tour a little bit. Just, you know, they've lost those names.
Right.
Obviously, you're getting a lot of new guys coming up. They probably love it because now it gives them a better opportunity. That kids, some of the guys, younger guys, but I think it's just unfortunate. But you know, I don't blame them.
Do you think golf will ever, you know, golf kind of has a mystique of kind of a country club atmosphere. It's kind of for elitists or whatever. And I think that way it used to be,
Yeah.
maybe. And do you think, I know it's changed substantially since then, since
Yeah.
40, 50 years ago.
Right.
And everybody seems to be playing golf, men and women,
Yeah.
kids. But as you see the Waste Management tournament in Phoenix, I mean, those guys, I mean, was it 17?
16 there,
16
yeah.
the party hole?
Yeah.
And they're drinking beer, you know, throwing cup. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the wildest thing. And I watched just a little bit of Live,
Yeah.
and I don't know where the tournament was. It might have been Australia. I'd never seen it. And Greg Norman's kind of
Yeah.
the commissioner or
Yeah.
whatever. And they were certain hole, and they seemed to be having more fun just from it. They had like a gallery,
Yeah.
a stadium set up, and it was similar to Phoenix.
They're playing music. And,
Yeah, having so. And do you think golf will get? It was really stoic, really, you know, by the vest. You know, not that everybody's John Daly, but you know,
Right.
John Daly had a little.
Yeah.
Was very colorful in what he
Oh,
does
yeah.
in his clothing
Yeah.
stuff. But do you think it'll gravitate more to having fun? And have more galleries that where you're in stands and watching them come in, or not?
Yeah, I think it's kind of going that way. Like say, Waste Management, I think is an exception to any tour event. And then, you know, there's people that have gone to that. That might have been their only tour event. Like our neighbor, you know, Cody. I think that was his first tournament.
Did he go
tour
there?
event? Yeah, he goes, heck, I didn't know this was so much fun. You know, I said, well, they're not quite all like that, you know. But yeah, I think it's changing a little bit. I think probably Top Golf and you know those things
Right.
have changed the character of golf coming out. Maybe like say people that don't want to play golf, but then it gets them going in golf. Then COVID hit. I've never seen golf like it is. I mean, golf was kind of dying, but since COVID, it was a good thing for golf business.
Huh.
It brought out a ton of new people. You know, and every year I keep thinking since it's going to decline, but it's not. It actually keeps climbing. You know, especially at Brown Deer for us,
Right.
it actually keeps growing and growing. And you know, Saturday I was in there with Brian. We were like, I don't recognize hardly 10, 15% of these people anymore. You know, it's just a whole new crowd of people that have come into the golf business and that are playing, which is good. And people are loving it. I mean, just COVID has really helped golf. grow.
Well, I think with COVID, where our office is near Brown Deer, I saw people walking, riding their bikes, and getting out and doing something. And I think that's what you're saying in golf.
Yep.
Well, they're out playing golf. They're outside. They don't have to worry about a mask, I don't think, outside.
Correct. Right. And that's kind of why golf kind of stayed alive during that time frame.
Right.
But like I say, it got people out golfing who never golfed because they were like, I'm tired of being in the house. I want to go do something outside. And that's where it all kind of started, I think.
Another thing that I'm sure you might find interesting, and you probably know it, is in the business world, if you want to find out what somebody's made of, take them play around golf.
Yeah.
You just see how they react. Are they throwing their clubs? Are they screaming, whatever they're doing?
Yeah.
Or are they pretty right at it? How disciplined they are? Are they an athlete? You can tell right away whether they're an athlete.
Yeah.
And a lot of golfers were quarterbacks on their football team, or there's other sports for that eye-hand coordination.
Yeah.
And to me, if you're kind of a natural athlete or an athlete of some kind, and that kind of discipline, to me, that takes into the golf course.
No, absolutely.
You could tell.
Yep. Big time. And a lot of business used to be done on golf course, and probably still is. A lot of business conducted. And golf's such a unique sport. I think you can play it till the day you die, basically. And I always tell that. And of course, I was always trying to tell my daughter, play golf. Of course, now they're like, why don't you make us play more golf? So I kept trying to tell you to play more golf, but you wouldn't listen to me. But but they love it, and as you go, there's more business transactions getting done, and now with cell phones, you can play golf and do your work on the, the phones and so forth. But, it's like you say, and talking about like our youngest, he's trying to play, he wants to play D1. Can he do it? Probably. I think he's got the capability to do it, but it's funny kind of talking to all these coaches and what they look for. And you look at how they conduct themselves on a golf course. If they hit a bad shot, what do they do? And there's coaches, if they see a little temper tantrum out of these kids, they don't have a chance being on that golf team. So, which is good. I think that's awesome because some of these kids get a little
wound up and bang their clubs around.
Yeah.
My experience with that was I was playing in a tournament in high school, or maybe just out of high school, and I remember a guy in the first tee got upset with his drive.
Yep.
He kind of turned around and flung his driver. It went right next to a lady holding a baby and hit a garbage can.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, don't you ever throw a club.
That's
Don't
exactly
even,
right.
like, that is the dumbest thing.
Yeah.
Thankfully, nobody got hurt.
Correct.
And hopefully he learned from that. But I've seen some things I'm sure you have too.
Yeah. And I watch kids, in junior tournaments. I wish parents would maybe say something to them, and because if I was my own kid, I'm going to yell at them, trust me. As I learned my lesson, I broke a club when I was a kid, and my dad never fixed it. So I had to play golf without that wedge, unfortunately, and I learned my lesson quick. That's not the golfer's equipment either.
It's
the
not
golf
the equipment.
I always try and blame it on the arrow, not the Indian, but that's how golf is.
So let's talk about an experience you've had. Was it last year at Southern Hills U.S. Open?
That was a PGA championship. Yeah, I played in the U.S. Open in 2003.
And where was that?
In Chicago, Olympia Fields.
At Olympia. Okay,
Yep.
yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, that was fun. That was my first major.
What was that like?
It was good. It was. I played in some Quad City Classic, which is now the John Deere tournament. So I played in some of the bigger tournaments. I played in more Nike tournaments. Now it's called the Corn Ferry Tour, but it was a Nike tour back in the day when I was playing. But getting to that major, and that was always my goal, was always to qualify. And U.S. Open qualifying is not easy. There's 7,000 guys trying. There's only 72 spots that make it in there that aren't exempt. So it's probably one of the hardest tournaments to qualify for. So it was no easy task. It's 36 holes one day for the second stage. It's just a brutal grind. I actually almost made it last year. I should have, but at my age, it was not getting easy. And we had 2 rain delays, and I kept stiffening up. And actually had to come back the next day for a playoff for one spot. There was 5 of us for one spot. You could see the 3 tour players. They were younger, half my age probably. They had no problem teeing off that first hole, and I could hardly even bend over putting my tee in the ground. But
was that in Austin?
I was actually over in Columbus, Ohio.
Columbus.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's usually more spots there. That's where I qualified the year I made in 2003 because all the tour players are over there for the Memorial. So they stay the next Monday to try and qualify for the U.S. Open that aren't already in exempt. So, but anyway, like playing with it, it was tough. I was actually, after 6 holes, I was at the top of the leaderboard. And when I saw that, on one of those big boards, I tanked it real quick. But,
wow.
then I was like steering it, guiding it. But I did break par, which in a major, I was pretty good. I shot like 78, 69. But same thing down in Belle Reve. I was close. I think I only missed the cut by 1 or 2. But we had a rain delay the last day or the second round. And came back out on Saturday and, just couldn't get it going.
So how was Southern Hills? That was
Southern
PGA.
Hills is a very good track. I'll tell you what, that's all
tough.
a golf course a guy wants. Great layout, just a true challenge. It got firm. It was kind of mid 90s, got windy, so the greens got firm. It's and that Bermuda grass down there. It's brutal. So true test.
Really,
I wish I'd have played a little better. I just kind of got wore out from practicing too much, and that's how it goes. But
it was hot, I bet.
it was hot. And actually Saturday, it'd been like 90s or something like that, 95, and it was very warm. But Saturday, when I was leaving town, it changed quite drastically. That cold front came in overnight, and it's like 55 the next day. Thank God I didn't make because I didn't have enough clothes. I wouldn't have been prepared for that change of, weather. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun. Anytime playing with the big boys, it's always fun. So
Are you marveled by being a PGA pro of the guys that are winning tournaments and it's 4 days, 72 holes.
Yep.
How they prepare, how they take the pressure, make the putts. Isn't it just amazing when you think about it?
Yeah, especially nowadays, all these kids are good. All the guys are good. Back came even Jack Nicklaus days, you had that, top 20, 30, you knew we were probably going to win, but nowadays anybody can win.
Right.
These guys can all play. They, they all practice hard. They all work out. Back in the day when I was a kid, that generation, they were probably drinking, smoking, when they're out playing. There was no working out involved, basically, when, that Fuzzy Zeller era and so forth. But, the golf game has really changed for those guys. But, yeah, it's, if you're not doing this every single day, it's tough. For us club pro, if I get to practice once a week, it's pretty good for me. But yeah, when these guys are just doing this day in and day out, I've noticed over the years, though, it used to be they all played 18-hole practice rounds in the tournaments. Now I see them doing more 9 holes one day, 9 holes the next day, kind of keeping them fresh. So they may practice a little bit more and they just only play 9 holes, I think, which isn't a bad idea. I've kind of noticed that, Zach Johnson, I've watched him playing with him. He'll just do 9-hole practice rounds in the tournament. So,
and how amazing, if you don't know who Zach Johnson is, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, played at Drake.
Yeah.
Won the Masters, what, was it 10 years ago?
2007, I think.
Was it? Yeah. And what a great person. I think he was probably, his golf coach was Larry Gladson, I'm sure, at Elmcrest.
And Mike Bender kind of took over for him.
And just a great guy, another Iowa guy. How cool is that?
Right. So it's funny. Thanks to Zach, I got to play St. Andrews Golf Course over in Scotland.
Oh, really?
We went over there. My mom's from Scotland. She actually came over as a nanny. So we still had relatives. We went over there in 2017, I think it was. Anyway, Zach had just won over there at St. Andrews, and so I had no intention of playing. I just went and see what the chances were. She goes, I wish I could help you out, there's like 30 people ahead. I said, I had no problem, She goes, where are you from? I said, Iowa. She goes, oh, yeah, you know that. And there was a life-size picture of Zach Johnson. I said, I grew up like 20 miles from him, played with him all the time. And she's like, really? I said, yeah. So anyway, she's like, I wish I could help you out. I said, no problem, So anyway, I go down to the pro shop Monday and we go down just thinking around, come back. She's like, hey, you got your clubs? I said, no. She goes, well, hop on, we're going to get some clubs. And we went down and got them, and she got me on in like 15 minutes thanks to Zach. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
How was that?
Yeah.
Was that interesting?
Yeah,
Those
it was
bunkers
awesome.
And
with the history of that golf course. And, I hadn't been over to Scotland since I was like 6 years old. So it was obviously neat to play it.
Did you get in those pot bunkers? Or
knock on wood, I did, but I did go try them. It's tough.
You got to come back out of it backwards, don't you?
I would. The one on 17, I think it was. I'm like, I got to see if I can get out of this thing. I barely cleared the lip, But yeah, some of those don't look that bad on TV, but they suck when you're down in them. So
that's another thing. People don't realize how good pros are. It's not just when you're out in the middle of the fairway, you got an open shot. They're hitting shots. They're fading it. They're drawing it. They're hitting them low. The sand shots, moving. I remember Larry Gladson worked with my daughter Emily, and I came up one night to pick her up, and we were right next to the green, just south of the club, one of those practice greens right by I think 10 tee off. Anyway, the grass was, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches right next to the collar, right?
Right.
And he has the ball kind of down in there, and he's teaching a flop shot,
Yeah.
kind of where he open
Right.
it all the way up,
Yeah.
and take pretty much a full swing, and it just pops
right
out.
up. Yeah.
So Larry does it, of course, and it was just perfect. I mean, I'm like, you're so
Yeah,
good. He's such a
right.
great guy. And he shows Emily, and I'll be darned if it wasn't 2 or 3 feet. And I'm like going, I'd have hit it maybe 100 yards over here with it, through the green and whatnot. But it's fun when you have a teaching pro that, and I'm sure you teach a lot of kids.
Yeah.
If you just listen to you, but if a kid picks it up.
Yeah.
Because some of them you could show that shot 20 times.
Right. Exactly.
Might be me, I mean,
Yeah.
But you show the kids that pick it up, and you're right, when you're younger,
Yeah.
you pick it up way faster than when you get older because you get set in your ways.
Yeah.
But she just went and just did it.
Yeah.
I just
And talking about succeeding next level, I always tell these junior golfers and our junior camp, and kids that want to play. I love helping kids. That's one of my biggest things. I try not to charge them. I just want to help them. If they want to play golf, I'm gonna try and help them. But the tour players, obviously you see them on TV, they're probably playing good and they're all hitting good shots. But the guys that aren't on TV are hitting bad shots, but they can get up and down around a green.
right.
We always say, they can get up and down a trash can if you let them. So
Right.
that's where I think to me, has always been the most respectful thing I've learned from the tour players maybe is they can get up and down anywhere. It doesn't
Right.
bother them to miss on the wrong side of the green.
Right.
They can pull it off sometimes, when maybe they have no chance and they do it. So I'm more on golf course management, not to miss on the short side, to kind of,
Right.
level your odds of getting up and down, not, hitting a miracle shot. But yeah, that's probably one of the biggest things I've learned over the years is, I've watched guys on tour. I mean, major winners have top shots, top tee shots, top 3 woods, so they're human,
Right.
but you just don't always see that on TV.
Right.
But their abilities around the green, chipping, putting, it's just awesome to me. And that's why they spend all their time.
Well, another thing about the pros, I'm sure you've seen, is they hit a bad shot, it's out of their mind.
Yeah.
They're thinking, they're walking up going, well, here's what I got to do.
Yeah.
I still can par it or birdie
Yeah.
it or whatever. And they're thinking about that next shot, how they can execute that next shot.
Yeah.
What club they're going to use.
Right. Exactly.
So,
it doesn't even phase them. For probably most average golfers, hitting in a bunker, they're just freaked out.
yeah.
These guys actually want to hit in the bunkers.
Right.
The tour bunkers are phenomenal.
They're
Don't get me wrong. They're perfect. They're not that hard to get out.
Soft.
Yeah. Just they're always consistent, most likely. And but for the average golfer, they're like, oh my God, I'm in a bunker.
Yeah,
Now they're horrified. So
Then again, that goes back to the mental side. They're already defeated.
right.
Well, I'm in a trap, and where a pro's going, hey, great, let's knock that a couple of feet, sand safe.
Yeah.
Where you're right, a recreational golfer is just going to get in there and duff it around.
You just hope they get out.
Yeah.
Tour players think they can make it every time out of a
probably
bunker.
do.
That's the difference in the mentality. But
we're talking about business on the golf course. Think about this, another aspect of golf, and obviously the teaching pro at Brown Deer. How much money is raised on the golf course with charity?
exactly.
How many events do you have just at Brown Deer? We're not talking Fink Vine,
Exactly. I mean,
all the time.
right. Exactly right. I mean, I can't. Every foundation you can think of, whether it's Make-A-Wish, 2 Foot Too Small,
Right.
Like you say, you name it, it's done. I mean, we do them. I mean, every golf course in our area does it. So,
Right.
I mean, it's exactly right, though. It's amazing how much money can be raised.
I don't know what it would be, but hundreds of millions over the course of the United States,
absolutely.
just all the time.
I mean,
And it's the best way to gather, maybe have lunch or dinner, have a few beers, whatever, and just have
camaraderie
fun
and
with
business
people.
connections. And,
Yeah.
I see a lot of people that, probably never really ever thought they'd get in it. All of a sudden they get hooked up. And
Right.
same thing with men's leagues. It's,
Right.
we have leagues all the time. And our women's league, they meet somebody and next thing you know, they're playing all the time together and they end up creating friendships and so forth.
Little
So,
competitiveness, little fun, have a drink
Yep.
afterwards, whatever.
absolutely.
So kind of wrap up here. Let's talk about if you're a young kid or you're a person, or even if you're an adult and you haven't played. Is the key word, don't be intimidated. Come out and see you guys, hit some balls, get some instruction, maybe if you're starting, how to get the grip right,
Yep.
how to stand over the ball. What would be some thoughts just briefly to kind of like, oh, I've never played golf. Oh,
Yep.
I don't hit it very far, all that stuff you listen to. But
Yep.
how would you get them comfortable?
So obviously, everybody, and I tell everybody, like I say, don't be afraid. Get
Right.
lessons.
Yeah.
Get started on the right track because it's easier to correct things from the get go than it is
Right.
to fixing the bad habits. Back in the day when you and I played, there wasn't a lot of instruction. I don't know if the instruction was quite correctly done back then as well, because I've seen the golf swing change a lot over the years. But yeah, don't be afraid. And I tell everybody, even 1 or 2 lessons will help you get on the right track. Everybody's got their own golf swing. Can you swing? Can you score well with a bad swing? Yes. I don't have a good swing, but I know how to play. My swing's been the exact same thing since I was a kid. I remember when I was like 14, it was, I got to be on Channel 9 News or whatever. And I remember seeing my swing. I was like, oh my God, I was horrified. I had no idea it looked that bad, but, like I say, but yes, getting comfortable and, getting these kids and adults, if you've never played, I mean, we have 4 instructors at Brown Deer. Right. I know everybody, all the other courses around have plenty of instructors as well. Some people, we do a lot of women's clinics. We do couples clinics, just to kind of make them feel comfortable. Women always seem more intimidated by it, I would say. But when we do the women's clinics, I think they feel more comfortable being in that situation, and we do junior camps. We do kids clinics all the time at Brown Deer. So I'm proud of our staff at Brown Deer. They've done a great job getting kids introduced. We have tons of opportunities. I unfortunately don't get to teach that much anymore. Just got too much other stuff going on, whether it's work or my own playing stuff. So, but yeah, it's neat watching these kids grow up and be successful. Great. I've been doing it. I coached Liberty High School golf boys in the fall. I kind of did it because I knew these kids have been coming up to our junior program. We got a good team at for Liberty. So. Good.
Also, wouldn't you tell the audience here that if you're married, is maybe some advice would be is don't give your spouse advice on how to hit a golf
100% on that one. If you want to stay married, don't do it. But
just let that go. Have them go to a teaching pro and stay out of it.
Yeah. What's crazy is my 2 boys don't even listen to me. They go to my teacher. It's just crazy how this works. But it's a tough game. It's I'm not gonna lie to you, but the more you get on the right track from the get go, the easier it is. So
learn to have fun with it, learn to enjoy it, learn to embrace it. If you're younger, it's very competitive. It's a great sport. You learn a lot about yourself, how you can hit a golf ball, and you hit it. Maybe it's windy, maybe it's raining out, and you got to get through it. Everybody's out there. They're all in the same course. It's how you're going to persevere, right? And that's how life is. It's not easy.
Exactly. I think golf, is that sport that builds character.
Yeah, it does.
Say down the road, it's going to teach you who you are and so forth. So,
good. Well, Sean, this has been fantastic. Really appreciate you coming in today.
Bet. Glad to do it.
Yeah, and I've been here today with Sean McCarty, a local golf pro, and runs Brown Deer Golf Course and a golf legend. So, good to see you.
Thank you. You bet.